roll. Yeah. Okay.
We're back, folks. It is me, your boy Jag, also known as Fantasy Blue Chip on the internet. With me is real Mr. Mallard, also known as Andrew LeDuc. And then with me is our basshole, Chuck Bass, host of This Guy Sucks. Oh, by the way, I almost forget to plug your show, Andrew, because golf is a foreign thing for me. But if you're into that, it is dipping.
You telling me you don't know what's going on with the John Deere Classic this weekend? Right outside Chicago,
bro. I don't even know.
In Illinois,
bro. Yeah, I'm so hungover right now that I don't even comprehend where I'm at right now. So it's just like I don't know what classic is on. You know, it could be Husqvarna, it could be John Deere. You know, you pick your poison. I'm barely alive, but as you guys can see, our fourth horseman Justin is not here. He's on the other TSS show. He'll be joining us soon, hopefully, maybe. Yeah, he like Jesus is busy, guys. Like he can't always be here. So.
Spreading the gospel.
Yeah. Exactly. So we're gonna move forward, and we have big announcement, guys. We are launching the Dynasty Cup. And what that is you've heard of Scott Fish. We want to do that for Dynasty and do a little bit less charity and more just about just pure are you the best? Will we is there opportunity to charity? For sure. But this is pure arrogance, ego. We're Dynasty folks, guys. We quote tweet a thread with can you imagine? We're petty folks. And I want to give you the opportunity to show how good you are within tournament format. We'll be dropping details soon, so make sure that you like us on Twitter. Chuck, thank you for hustling hard on Twitter for us, but we'll have announcements there. Follow all of us on Twitter, and we'll keep you updated. If you are a creator out there and you want in on this, hit me up. We'll eventually get out to the public, but we want to make sure that this is something that grows slowly, steadily, and without ending up being a Netflix documentary about how we swindled you out of money. So moving forward to news and nonsense. There is no news, guys. I'm on Twitter right now in PFF Fantasy Football. The tweet is Derrick Henry the best running back in the NFL? That's where we're at.
Please tell me that it's not pure rusher. He's that's the part of the year we're in right now. So-and-so is the best pure runner in the NFL.
Yeah. It's just what can trigger some other fan base of something, it's just, or an obvious answer, is Tom Brady one of the greatest of all time? I'm are we doing that?
Dude, Tom Brady coming back has got to be a headline soon. We're so desperate for news that I'm sure we get one of those every 3 weeks of him throwing a ball on a yacht and hitting a drone. I'm sure we're 2 weeks out from him, I don't know, on an elliptical in the Dolphin Stadium. Just some shenanigans are afoot.
Well, if he came back to the Patriots, he could be throwing to just as equal receivers.
Anytime Tom Brady tosses even a juice. Yeah, I was gonna say, even if he tosses a juice box to his kid, they're like, "Is Tom Brady game ready?" They're just
still
ready.
Got it.
We're so ready. And
He's still got it.
Yeah.
Look at those moves.
August is close, guys. But
Mhm.
we do have one piece of, I guess it's fantasy relevant news. We're gonna chug on past it really quick. Devontae Parker got extended for 3 years. It's mainly in incentives. That's not real. He's still gonna be a thing if that matters. I don't want him on my team at all. Do you guys have anything to say, or can we move on to the meats?
This was more so
Uh,
bigger news
yeah.
because a lot of people thought that Parker getting signed meant they were giving up on D-Hop. I don't think that's the case. We'll see.
Yeah, and they can just like cut him. They're like, "Oh, D Hop, you want to come?" Like, sorry, Devontae Parker. Womp womp, sad
Yeah,
face.
Yeah.
I mean, it could affect though. It could affect if anybody is banking on a Tyquan Thornton dynasty play for in the next couple of years. If D Hop does come and that then pushes Parker down to the number 3, like what does that mean for someone like Thornton? That's the only way it can really affect anything here.
The Patriots are that team in the league right now. They're like your that dynasty guy that like hoards all the like shitty tight ends that nobody really wants but might have upside if there's an injury. They're taking all the wide receivers that would serve nothing but cause us slight inconvenience if they were to sign with another team. But we know they have no value in New England, so it's like out of sight, out of mind. Run it. You guys do whatever the hell it is you're doing. Stay away from my Rondre and just keep up the good fight. And I think we can probably all agree on that in some form.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I said. I don't think. And they said you were 2 Pats fans. Like I think that was some good nutshell in there.
It's so funny. I always forget that
so
you're a
with
Pats
that being
fan,
said-
Jagger, because you never say. I feel like I never hear you say anything positive about them. Andrew's also not entirely the most optimistic guy, but he does chime in with some like long-term stuff. You just don't. Your fandom does not shine through.
I don't know, man. I'm just a rational guy. It's our, and to be honest, man, it's totally this game that we play. Like in fantasy analysis now, I am like a shell of a human. I'm like what's his name? Patrick Bateman, when he's just like, I'm barely a person. I'm barely a fan anymore because like I'm so deep in the trenches of this game now. Like it's kind of like,
I get it. You're on to Cincinnati. You've been watching Belichick for too long.
Yeah, exactly. Like shit's bad. Shit's bad in Foxborough right now, and we paid the Faustian bargain. We got 6 rings, and we'll talk more if we can get any rings in the future later.
Sure.
With that being said, I'll just stick with the Pats theme so we can just chug on through. Headlines that we actually want. So here's me being a Pats fan. That was a perfect segue check. I want D-Hop to the Pats. I want it. I need it. I need them to do the right thing. Like try to win games. Like I'm tired of speaking of like PFF fantasy. I'm tired of seeing them like Mac Jones is a receiving core, and it's like Tyquan Thornton is cut into an image. We're paying graphics people to cut in Tyquan Thornton, and I really hope I hope Fantasy Receipts clips me later how much of an asshole that I sound, because again, I'm a Pats fan. I want him to succeed. I want him to do well, but he probably won't. He probably won't do well. So that's mine. I know we're all tired of hearing it, and I know, Chuck, let's start with you. This would be worst case scenario for you because you don't like the Pats. Like that would just like, would you still want D-Hop? Would that excite you?
Look, I like the Patriots now that they suck, and that's a crucial element for almost any sports team is when they no longer are, the empire, like in Star Wars. Like once they finally lost and they're rebuilding, I can swing my weight all the way to them. I mean, like we've all talked about and speculated the whole Hopkins thing, but I mean, I've been very clear on this from day one. I think that he is going to have like a Larry Fitzgerald, Terrell Owens, well into his 30s type, career where he's going to be extremely productive. And I think the Patriots are as good of any organization at actually utilizing elite skill players. They have a proven track record of doing that. Bill O'Brien, I mean, he's already worked with, Hopkins before some of his best seasons, if not his best. So, all the Mac Jones stuff is fun. He's the easiest target in the league for me, but I'm sure as hell confident in his ability to, overly stimulate, Hopkins' fantasy value with target after target. So, I don't think that one gets old to me. That is the fit.
It does make too much sense. For everything the Patriots saying they wanted to do publicly coming from the organization that they're putting out there to the fans, to try to keep the fans interested in selling, like it makes too much sense for them to make that move. What's interesting to me is how it all plays into the Dalvin Cook comments about Cook wanting to play with D-Hop. The comments almost had the feel that the two of them had talked and brought up this idea of playing together and that they might be looking for it together. I'm not sure the Patriots have them. Not that they don't have the money. I'm not sure if they're willing to spend the money on both of those guys, and if that would be enough of a reason for D-Hop to not go there and go somewhere if Cook was going somewhere else that he could play with him.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to see it.
Yeah.
Not sure we have Jagger.
Yeah,
I think his internet's hung over too.
Yeah. It's not that bad this week, guys.
It's still there. We can hear you.
It's not terrible.
You're with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So Chuck, I'll let you have your headline next, since that's enough Patriots talk. Even I'm over it at this point. So.
So your headline was a little bit more realistic. Mine, or yours might come on ESPN. You're going to find mine in the National Enquirer. My headline is Sean Payton says that Russell Wilson is like a combination of Drew Brees, Fergie, and Jesus. And what I mean by that is that, like, I want to see, we all know it all makes sense. These parts fit, right? I think that the Broncos offense can be greater than the sum of its parts. I still think Russell Wilson, it can be an above average quarterback under the right guidance and under an adult offense. And the biggest part of all this is Sean Payton. And we all know his track record is historic, but people think, even if you think that Russell Wilson has lost it, right? Like, he's no longer this top 8 quarterback, whatever you might have thought he might have been in your rankings. He certainly should have been no lower than top 12 at any given point in time. Sean Payton went 5-0 with Teddy Bridgewater in 2019, 3-1 with Taysom Hill in 2020, 5-2 with Jameis in 2021, and then in the same season, 4-1 with Taysom Hill. Like, this guy's going to win games. Russell Wilson he would have to be the worst quarterback in the league for this entire offense to fall off. And the reason that this was my headline is because how many components I think hinge upon this marriage working out and working out quickly, right? Judy, Sutton, Mims, Dulcich, Javonte Williams, Samaje Perine. We're talking about a lot of viable parts that have a nice opportunity to be competing assets for us in the short term and in the long term. So I just want to see that this is, we're not getting early red flags, like first date terrible red flags, like the guy's ex-girlfriend showed up or something. Like, it's fucking good stuff.
Hi, Dave. And for Dave who just joined us, we're talking about if Russell Wilson could be a combination of Drew Brees, Fergie, and Jesus. And yes, this is he is the best in the league.
Oh, well, if he's the worst, look, I'm not saying that he can't be. I'm not saying he's not either. I don't want to. I'm just saying I want to know if he is or not. I want to know right now because a lot is hinging on it. That's a hilarious comment.
Andrew, I'll let you take this one because I'm actually going to be a little bit more positive about this, I think. So
good.
Good, because I'm not. I love Sean Payton. I think the future of Sean Payton with this team is going to be with a different quarterback, and I think this is the year that proves that to him. I think this feels like it's Sean Payton trying to do the best with what he's been given, and what I mean by that is that the franchise most likely told him, we spend a lot of money on this guy. We want to see what you can do with him now, so don't go changing things just yet. So I think we got to see what Sean Payton can do with Russell Wilson. I'm not saying it's impossible because, like you said, Sean Payton's a fantastic coach, one of the best in the last 20 years, easily. So I think he can probably, if anyone's going to get anything out of Russell Wilson, I think it's him. I think Russell Wilson has to buy in, and that's the problem I see. I'm not sure Russell Wilson's going to buy in. And I want to know which part of this statement, Fergie or Jesus, is the part of Wilson that has however many bathrooms he has in his house. That's what I want to know.
Well, it's really tough, right? Because, they invited the entire team to come out to his birthday party, Sierra's birthday party, and not hardly any of them came. But it's like,
Yep.
Dude, a party at a rich mansion in Denver with 11 bathrooms to hide in. If you think things are awkward, you could have gone and sat on your phone and I don't know, gambled. You can't gamble at the team facility, so you could have gone and played underdog, promo code TSS Dynasty, and just completely started just racking it in. Yeah, man, I don't know. So walk me through this, because you said something that I think is an actual narrative, and I'm curious people's thoughts on it. I don't think that there's any chance that Russell Wilson doesn't play every game barring injury unless he is actually the worst quarterback in the league. Do you think that, would they have to have an incredibly porous record with awful passing stats for them to turn to Stidham? Or, you think they're going to let him play the season out, right?
I think they're going to let him play the season out because you already said the reason why, and it's two short words in Jared Stidham. They're not. Nothing's going to be better with him.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson might be the worst quarterback in the league, but Stidham's definitely not better.
Yeah.
So we know what Jared Stidham is at this point. He's had his chances. So and every time he gets his chances, he chokes within 3 passes. So no, I think the franchise. I think between that and I do think that the Denver Broncos themselves are saying we need to see what we can get out of this investment. And I think they're going to stick to that.
And that's the right move to make, right? They've obviously committed a tremendous amount of money. So who do you think is the most valuable asset on the team going forward in the dynasty perspective? If you were to have your pick of the litter, obviously at ADP, of course, but who are you looking at that's has that spark for you?
It's still going to be Jerry Jeudy for me, because I feel like if they do end up turning this team around, I think Jerry Jeudy is someone that is versatile enough that Sean Payton would want to focus the offense around. I could see Cortland Sutton being a piece that, say this year does not go as he wants. Russell Wilson is not it. They're going to kind of reshape the team around a different quarterback or whatever, whether it be via trade, whatever. Free agency, I think I could see a guy like Cortland Sutton being dealt.
Sure.
I could see a guy like Tim Patrick stepping up back into the role we saw him have success in. But Jerry Jeudy for me is definitely the guy that I could see them, even if big changes came, the offense would be centered around him.
No, you're right, because he's the one who kind of fits, and he's not a one-on-one comparison to Michael Thomas, obviously, but he does have a very similar route tree to Michael Thomas in regards to what the Saints are going to ask as far as, very horizontal passing concepts that rely on, precise, accurate passes from Russell Wilson, just like they did with Breeze. So it'll be, this first season will be very telling on what they ask Russ to do, what they ask the wide receivers to do. The tight ends being involved in some meaningful way should be something that we should see early and often. So, I'm excited. And I just want to know, where I guess maybe I'm just so soured from, it's like every news report that comes out of the 49ers camp is negative. And so I just want some positive reports from the West Coast.
Back with us, Jagger.
Just in time, too.
I know. Oh, that's a hell of a face to freeze on. Hell yeah.
Maybe not. Well,
that's right.
We'll give him a sec to catch up to speed. So what's your headline that you want to see tomorrow?
Apologies, I'm fighting allergies here. That's my headline. Jeez, it's bad, guys. Pollen up here.
Oh,
brutal.
Man. So what?
As Justin joins the show too. No, look, mine's boring. My headline was pretty much right there with Jaggers. It's as a Pats fan, it was all about D-Hop and Cook and those possibilities. So we might as well throw Justin to the fire here and ask him what his is. Right,
Justin, come in and lay the smackdown on us. What's the headline you want to see tomorrow?
The headline that I want to see tomorrow, is it just strictly football or is it fantasy football?
This was in place of our news segment. Since there's no news, we're willing the news into existence. Is what do we want to see? Jagger talked about D-Hop to the Pats. I talked about good vibes out of Denver. Andrew, piggybacked on the Pats news. So what do you want to see?
I want to see old running backs retire.
Oh no, you want them out of the mix?
I want them out of the mix.
This.
I don't want to think about them during drafts.
That's a good
Either
answer.
pick a spot or freaking retire.
like a group retirement, like they all cut the ribbon at the same time. I can
Wouldn't
see
it be beautiful to see Zeke and Leonard Fournette right next to each other? Nice big beards. Zeke could have his crop top up and everything, and they ride off into the sunset in a nice pink Cadillac together, and they're going. This is why we need California.
This is why we need a senior tour. We need like a senior tour for golf that the older players can segue into and get them out of the way, so that way they have a home somewhere they can go play and make some more money as they ease into retirement.
They're kind of getting that way with the Pro Bowl. That's kind of like their soft way of like introducing like football after football, right? Everybody just tag football after that or flag football. But yeah, guys, I don't know about you guys. I am sick of it. I just pick a fucking team. It's almost training camp. Ezekiel Elliott, if you're going back to the Cowboys, go back to the Cowboys. Leonard Fournette, if you're going to the Broncos, go to the Broncos. Yeah, Kareem Hunt, I'm still drafting Kareem Hunt because I still think there's some tread on those tires. But guess what? If he's like waiting there for like 7 weeks, 8 weeks, I'm going to kind of be like, maybe I should get rid of him.
You're right. It's a huge shadow hanging over a lot of these drafts. So I had some alternative ones, and you guys, let me know if you have any more. I had Alvin Kamara suspended or not suspended. I had Jimmy G passes physical or doesn't pass physical. You could kind of go.
Hey, can I do something real quick with you? Can I bounce off real quick? Joe Mixon, suspended or not suspended too?
That's absolute money.
Also
That's so money. Because these are like heavy swings, and you got my hate of Joe Mixon is well documented, but man, that's a massive one.
He's a top 15 backs, though.
I was just doing a draft I did a mock with Dave Kluge, and they were doing it on Fantasy and Frames, and he took Kamara in the 7th round, and he went on for about 90 seconds about how like that's one of the easiest picks in the board for redraft, especially 1 QB leagues. It's like, the way that kind of stuff is going to swing a lot of these leagues, a lot of these strategies. It's massive, massive implications.
So I got this though. Just talking off of that real quick, if we can turn this into a quick point. Everybody's so enamored with getting the steal of Kamara there. Am I the only one that's like looking at this like maybe they got Jamal Williams and drafted a running back because maybe they're not so sure about his skills anymore? Like, am I the only one? Am I just like drunk here and fucking just rambling on about something like old man at the sky talking about this type of stuff? But at the end of the day, like when you think about it, like Jamal Williams was a touchdown hog last year, like 19 scores. Like, how do you think that factors into Alvin Kamara's take at this point? Are we just going to use him exclusively as a slot receiver? And then that's not even factoring in the fact that he's probably going to get a 6-game suspension. I think at this point, the NFL has pushed it back so far, and his lawyers beautifully have pushed it back so far to a point where, even if, this thing gets handled middle of the season, I think that there's still kind of have to, with the video evidence, kind of have to reprimand him for something.
Yeah.
Well, that's it's an interesting thing about Kamara because you look at last year, right? And I think that last year is tough because he had a pretty brutal stretch where he played some of the best, if not all of the best run defenses and front sevens in the league. His horrible games came against Baltimore, Pittsburgh, the Rams, the 49ers, and the Bucs. Horrific. If you were to take that sample out, which I know you can't do, but if you were to, he actually had some pretty damn encouraging games, averaging close to 20 attempts a game. And in the first half of the year, he was looking at like 6-7 targets a game. His efficiency went down, and he's not going to be the same guy we've seen, top 5, top 8, top 12 pick absolutely no chance. But I mean, if you're looking at like a 0 RB build and you're looking for a guy that's going to catch passes, Derek Carr is an absolute check down phenom, and still a guy who has some gas in the tank. I mean, I think he can be, for what you ask of him to be for your team, I still think he can be a valuable asset. I just think that most people are going to expect more from him than you're going to be able to get. And I know, Jagger did some great stuff on him, earlier on this offseason about him being a fade. And I mean, I think at the wrong price, he's an absolute fade.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Andrew, if you've got something to add on to this.
I don't have anything to add on to Kamara because I 100% agree with both of you. But we do have a very interesting question in the chat if we want to get to that before we hit our commercial break and move on to topics. Kevin D comes at us. Oh, I got the wrong one. Kevin D comes at us with a keeper league question. He's looking for 2 players to keep in his redraft league at their current draft positions. I'm going to read you off who he's got here because I know my answers already. He's got in the first round, he's got DeAndre Swift. Second round, CeeDee Lamb. Third round, Mike Williams. Fourth round, Travis Etienne. Fifth round, Adam Thielen. Sixth round, Jamar Chase. Seventh round, Kyler Murray. Eighth, A.J. Dillon. Ninth, Brandon Ayuk. 10th, Hines. 11, Albert O. 12th, Boyd. 13, Cole Kmet. And 14th, Jared Cook.
I think we could stick to like the top 5 at this point.
Yeah. So for me, though, it's fairly simple. Honestly, I'm keeping because you keep them at the same draft position you draft them at. Jamar Chase in the 6th and Brandon Ayuk in the 9th are home runs for me.
This must have been a league that was established right when Chase was like drafted, right?
I'm assuming so, yeah.
There's no fucking way you ever would get him in the 6th.
Well, that's why you have to keep him there at the 6th round.
Yeah.
And he says he has a top 6 pick.
So that all checks out pretty. I'm pretty sure I back all that.
Yeah, the answer is.
Didn't quite get.
Yeah, I was gonna say to me the answer is CeeDee and Jamar Chase. It's not even.
CeeDee is the only one I'd take over.
I was gonna say the answer is CeeDee and Jamar Chase.
Those are top. I mean, you're having top 3 to 5 wide receiver assets at the minimum over the next 5 years. I love Ayuk, and I think he's a clear third. But you're looking at, you've just got all the unpredictability of the 49ers. I back that up.
So I actually back up Andrews because you're looking at 6 and 7 here, which means that you're getting picks 1 through 5, which probably a lot of these guys aren't going to be getting. So you can start pillaging from their players at that point. And if you're starting off at 1-6 instead of, because I think you said CeeDee was a 3rd, right?
CeeDee was a 2nd round pick.
See, that's even better for me because at that point, Jamar Chase justifies the CeeDee Lamb right there. And then Brandon Ayuk, in my opinion, is got bigger and better things coming for him in that San Francisco offense. I really do think Debo's role is becoming defunct in it. So if I were looking at that, I'd be getting my locked in wide receiver 1 and a damn good wide receiver 2. And then I can just build on that. Whereas some of these other guys might be holding on to Christian McCaffrey with their first rounder, and they're not getting that first round pick. So that's how I'm looking at it from the keeper aspect. So
is the implication there that you think that Ayuk can be what CeeDee is?
I mean, I don't think he could.
Yeah.
Listen. The implication is that I think he can at least match some of the level of what he can do. I'm expecting Jamar Chase to be what CeeDee Lamb is, but at 4 rounds later.
Sure.
And then Brandon Ayuk, I think he's going to take a step up into that top 24 at least this year. Yeah. And that's for me getting a 7th round pick out of that and still having the ability to go and get the 1 through 5, all those picks. Mm-hmm. That's the strategy right there. Getting those guys that you can get later. Like if this guy had gotten Jefferson at 6 and Chase at 7, which was very likely back in the day, that would have been fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been amazing. There would be no questions here.
And see, I'll have a small rebuttal to Justin, and it's not that his is wrong. I get his opinion. I think Brandon Ayuk can can take that leap as well. Like me and Justin are the two biggest Ayuk stands, I think, right now. So I'm all in. But hear me out. Here's why I wouldn't take that risk. Because because this is a keeper league, and this is more about knowing your league at this point. Who are you actually going to be able to draft at the first pick that's going to be worth more than CeeDee Lamb? And at that point, like if I can get a high upside position, let's say if I can get someone like Jalen Hurts, or like I'm assuming this is one QB, like you can get Jalen Hurts, or if someone's even going to drop Travis Kelce, then you basically got the makings of the perfect ZRB. I'm thinking ETN or Lamb. So I would take
in the fourth round is a little volatile for me.
Yeah, don't do that, bud.
Do ETN in the fourth. Yeah, that's a little bit much.
Let me finish, because I'm literally telling you to do a ZRB. We're all telling you to do a ZRB. We're all telling you to do ZRB, but the way that we're telling you to do it is the thing. So, like, if you feel like you can get someone really good with that second pick, or someone really good with the first pick, then you can wait on and get Ayuk. But if not, I'm taking CeeDee Lamb, so I know I have two elites. So that was a fun one. Keeper leagues are kind of fun. I don't know. I don't do them. I know why, because
I also have not been in one, but I give a lot of advice on them. So I'll go fuck myself eventually.
It all comes down to the value. That's what you're going to be looking at. Value of
because it's like, we're all waiting for Kyle Shanahan to get back to that like hardcore X wide receiver like Julio and Andre Johnson. And Braylon Edwards, his best year, when he was just staples of his offense, guys that just get that. And I think Ayuk is the most talented receiver he's had since he's been in San Francisco. So, you'd like to see him kind of, return to what his most successful offenses have been, especially, with George Kittle, pushing his age, and Debo coming back down to earth a little bit. But yeah, I'd still side with the CD on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Confuse you.
Yep. Well, any more questions like that? Don't be afraid to drop those in the chat, folks. We're going to pay some bills, and then we're going to talk some zero RB and hero RB strategy. So, Kevin, you actually had a very apt question. We'll talk about that next, folks.
Fantasy Sports Corp and Underdog Fantasy have teamed up to start your fantasy season off in the win column with Best Ball. What is Best Ball? It's quite simply the easiest way to win. No team management, no trades, no waivers. It's their biggest contest ever, and it has only gotten bigger. You simply have to sit and win. You don't even have to set your lineup. Always get your best score every week. Just enter a contest, draft your team, and Underdog will do the rest. What could make this even better? How about free money, up to $100 using our exclusive promo code? Go online now and use the promo code TSS Dynasty to double your deposit up to $100. You tell them Gingerbread sent you. Good girl.
Quick follow-up, Jagger, to make you salivate a little bit, just to end that question we just had. Because he doesn't know what pick. Kevin doesn't know what pick he's getting in the top 6 yet. He just knows it's a top 6 pick. He's saying, imagine if he got the first and got Justin Jefferson and then kept CD and Chase.
If you get the first pick, do Justin's strategy then. Do Justin's strategy. Like don't get CD at that point. If you can get Justin Jefferson, get Chase Jefferson and Ayuk, feel really fucking good, bro. And then the second round, you're getting best available at that point. You're just doing best available at that point. So like you're looking for Kelce if you can keep him, or a really top a QB. And again, perfect segue for that question is because we're talking zero versus hero running back strategy. I was talking to my buddy Chris Miles. He's a writer over at DFF. He's also going to be a part of the Dynasty Cup along with some other guys. And we were talking that hero RB is the optimal move this year for just roster build in general. No matter what you're doing, having at least a hero RB build is probably optimal, because like like I guess you gotta think about at this point. We only have a couple of running backs that are gonna give you like super week to week high upside, and then the rest are arguably replaceable. Does anyone argue that I guess philosophy is the word I'm looking for?
No, I don't know
I
how
don't
you
have the
could,
same-
honestly, with like all of the information that has been, especially, I mean, I feel like honestly in the last like 12 months, it has been well documented. It just depends, because it depends on, if you're talking about for this year, especially, I'm seeing that pendulum be swung to the point of exhaustion, to where you're actually seeing some unbelievable opportunities in less hero RB builds, in not necessarily robust, but just a more balanced team when you look at the unpredictability and the inconsistency in the wide receiver market from those mid to late rounds. So it's just going to depend on your board. Just like anything, you can't go in with a set strategy. You have to be flexible and fluid. If the strategy, works, it's going to work because there's a premium on the positions that you're grabbing, not because you're forcing the 11th best wide receiver over the potentially third best running back. Like, that's where you start to get lost in the weeds a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with zero running back. I just never have the stomach to play it, to put it into action myself, because I panic too much once I start to try to go that way. And the reason why I panic is because the one thing with zero running back I struggle with is, for me, zero running back would look like the majority of my bench would be running backs that I can then cycle through, whether it's matchup or circumstance reasons, see who I'm going to start. So the idea that I have 3 or however many wide receivers you're starting, top end wide receivers and top end quarterbacks. I mean, if one of those just get hurt or doesn't show up the way you hope, then that's where you got to hit. That's the thing. Zero running back, you got to hit at the other positions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I panic.
Yeah, and that's what Justin's. Yeah, that for me, you got to hit, and that's why I don't like to take risks. And that's kind of what I alluded to that earlier when we were talking about the that recent keeper question. That's why I would go CeeDee Lamb, because CeeDee Lamb's already been that guy. Like, we know Brandon Ayuk is that guy, but we don't know if the 49ers are going to let Ayuk be that guy, if that makes sense.
Fair.
Right now, like CeeDee Lamb, it's all there, so I'd rather just bet on that. So like that's why you don't play around when it comes to like the zero RB strategy. Like for me, I'm not walking out unless I got Jalen Hurts or like a stud QB, like Rusher or Lamar Jackson, or someone who's going to give me truly elite upside. And that this, like, again, brings us to our point of like Chuck, you said this about being flexible. I go into every draft thinking I'm going to do a hero RB strategy, and then I'll let the board work for me. So let's just talk about some targets right now, and we'll use Keep Trade Cut to talk about to kind of go through all the rankings and see guys that we like and where we kind of are going to cut off. Like, you're officially out of the hero strategy. Obviously Bijan Robinson, he's the hero of all heroes. Like he's a hero of all heroes. So that's the guy that I'm going to try to get. I probably never will get Bijan Robinson because of the way that I draft. I will target wide receivers, and we'll talk about wide receivers later. So, and we can just move past that one. No one's going to say don't draft Bijan Robinson on this podcast.
Yeah.
Now, here's where it does get interesting at this point is Breece Hall. Because like in a vacuum for Dynasty, I think Breece Hall is the perfect hero running back to get right now. And he's a guy that I try to target because he's fallen due to injury. I just think that some people get a little too excited about what coaching staffs and coach speak are saying in the offseason and about how good that he's actually going to be at the beginning of the season. Are any of you guys worried about this? We'll start with you, Justin.
Oh, of course. I mean, anytime somebody's coming off a major injury like that, how can you not be worried about it? So, yeah, I mean, Breece Hall being your hero RB, it comes with its risks and its benefits. The benefit is obviously you've gone through about 2 to 3 rounds of collecting good wide receivers or a good tight end or, whatever the build is, like you get a quarterback, a wide receiver, or a quarterback, 2 wide receivers. You get what I'm saying? And then you go out and you get that guy and has all the talent in the world to pay off and be a running back 1, like the running back 1. But the glaring thing with him right now is how is he going to come back and play? There's plenty of history that tells us that when these guys come back after their ACLs, they don't actually come back and play at their highest level for, the first year. Sometimes you get, a little gem like J.K. Dobbins who makes it through most of the year looking terrible and kind of comes and pulls it all together at the end. But reality is most of the time these guys just don't have the legs underneath him just yet to be that fantasy factor right away. So that's why I kind of steer away from guys who have major surgeries like that. Even Saquon Barkley, when he first came back, did not have a great season. It was just, that's what it was. That was kind of like the downfall. A lot of people started to go, oh, this is the end of Saquon. And then he pulled it out in year 2, and he had a magnificent back to Saquon rookie year type year. So it's one of those things where if you're in a redraft right now, you're in Scott Fishbowl, I'm not looking for Breece Hall to be my hero RB.
See, I will at the value to your point, Jagger, just because I think the key difference in your argument with Saquon Barkley is that at that time, because of the state of Daniel Jones and the rest of that offense, they needed Saquon Barkley to be something he wasn't ready to be. I think with what the Jets have done with the moves they've made on offense between Aaron Rodgers and the other weapons they've brought in the receiving core, they're not going to need Breece Hall like they needed him last year to be this stud running back right off the bat, because they needed someone to carry Zach Wilson in the backfield. One thing, Aaron Rodgers, even if he's not dedicated to being the same producer he used to be, he can still feel and manage a backfield, I think, with his veteran presence, to where he's going to put Hall in more favorable situations, I think.
Well, so then that means he's going to get less opportunities.
No, so...
Yes, realistically.
Yes, a little. Yes, a little. So less opportunities in the middle of the field. I think equal opportunities, if not more, in meaningful areas in the red zone or within the 5 or 10. I could see that happening
for sure. And I guess where I'm at with Breece Hall, well, I don't like to chase handcuffs. If that makes sense. Like I don't like to chase things, because like you're kind of depending on something, then you're going to end up reaching and missing on value because you're laser pointed. But in this case, and especially what we expect the Jets offense to be, I would definitely try to pick up I would try to get Michael Carter. I would try to get Zonovan Knight onto my roster. They're not going to cost you much of anything. So, and if I were to use this strategy, I would definitely want a little bit stronger RB2 going forward. And Kevin D wants to talk about Travis Etienne, and this is a good time to bring up. For the purpose of this segment here, my thoughts on Travis Etienne is he's not a hero RB right now. Like I think we've seen Travis Etienne at his ceiling. I think he could be a steady producer, and he's a guy that I would try to trade for as like a high-end RB2 on my team. But because there's guys like Tank Bigsby who I'm targeting for my ZRB guys that I was going to bring up later, that like that's the guy that I want then. Like I would rather have Breece Hall and then get Tank Bigsby later. Or like, let's actually look at who's in Travis Etienne's range. If I could get Jahmyr Gibbs, that's another one, especially in Dynasty for a hero build. That's what I'm trying to shoot for every time. That'd be ideal scenario to walk away with 2 good receivers, a top quarterback, and Jahmyr Gibbs. So those are other guys that I would just rather have at that range, where I really feel like their range of outcome cannot just be like an RB1 per se, but like a top 5 overall fantasy running back, like a real point scorer. We're talking like low end Christian McCaffrey numbers, which is high end fantasy upside, if you really think about that. So
yeah, this is where I have to jump in and say that I would punt this shit so fucking far down the road. It's not even funny. running back is not only being devalued faster than the U.S. dollar, but it's far and away the easiest position to acquire, especially in Dynasty. People are ready to get off these guys, and they're ready to get off of them earlier than their value equates to. You talk about last year. I mean, Josh Jacobs pre-last year was an easy trade target. Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb. People are anticipating the decline sooner than the decline is coming, and they might wise up to that at some point in the community. I love Breece Hall, and I think that's exactly the guy you're looking for, right? If you can target him in a 0 RB startup, you're talking about a guy with top 5 upside that has a nice 4-year window, but that is the window, and it's really not any more than that. Like McCaffrey, we're in the McCaffrey era right now, in the Eckler era right now. I don't think these guys are common. I think that they're trend. I think they're trend buckers, and I don't think you can't expect this out of the top guys coming out of the NFL draft. I don't expect that out of Bijan, especially where he's gone and what that team values now. I might not be the wiser for that if they decide to pivot in some meaningful way. But I mean, if this position, it's so easy to crack the top 10 with guys that you wouldn't expect, that I would just lean so far heavily into the 0 RB strategy for Dynasty and just absolutely rock it all the way.
And to be honest, like you said, to punt, like Ramondre is another guy that I would like to roster if I can, but after that, like you want to talk about an awesome, like if you want to do a hero RB, someone who's awesome, Derrick Henry, man, like Derrick Henry is so cheap, especially for Dynasty right now, that you could fade running back and then pull Derrick Henry, and then you can have a relatively young roster that you're going to send Derrick Henry off in the sunset. And like, I like that now. Like Derrick Henry's cost is like a low end first, maybe a high second will get it done. And I'm willing to pay that if I could compete. So we'll move on for the sake of time, and we'll talk about wide receiver depth. And what kind of sparked this for me about not just the running back conversation was actually wide receivers, because they're going to take up a lot of our roster space on here. So how deep actually is wide receiver, and like where the fall off is from like a wide receiver 1 to like a wide receiver 2. And then when you talk about someone who could just get in the top 24, I think that's incredibly replaceable. When you think about players like Zay Jones or whatnot and what they've done, I don't think it's that hard to get a top 24 wide receiver. So when you're doing a strategy to fade someone like this, that's why you need to get the Jamar Chases, the Jeffersons, AJ Browns, the guys that that are going to give you not just squeak it into the top 12. They're going to get you top 5 points every week to pull, like, Zach Charbonnet might maybe only giving you 10 points or something like that. So
I'm really glad you said that. You really
hammered
like you really. I don't mean to jump in real quick, but you really cannot overemphasize how important it is that you have those flagpole guys, because I don't think you can do that with an Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think you can do that from what I expect personally short term out of AJ Brown. I don't think that those are the kind of guys that you're going to be looking week in, week out from a target and yardage perspective long term. It's got to be those upper elite A+ tier guys, or the guys that we all commonly agree are going to be those guys. That is so crucial when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah. This was actually kind of a theme last season when we were talking about going to 0 RB. That it was like the hot topic. It's like you have to do it right. You can't just get DeAndre Hopkins because you like him. You need to get studs. Studs. There's like, I was going to pull up stats, but like the guys that we're talking about, are studs, like Jamar Chase, stud. CeeDee Lamb, that's a questionable stud at that point. I'd rather have AJ Brown, I think. And then after that, that's where start. Oh, what AJ Brown or
that's for another show.
You don't want to
do a whole show on that.
You don't want to be doing these builds with Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, and Mike Evans and Antonio Brown just for fun. You don't want to be doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, and I guess the point of here is like, where does it stop? And we've kind of already said it. Like we already know. Like when I get to Garrett Wilson, that's where I want to stop. And to be honest, the builds that I've been making, especially like in like the Scott Fish format or the basically one start QB stuff, is like getting Garrett Wilson as my wide receiver 2 feels a lot better than having him as my wide receiver 1. And the real conversation that I want to have is like Garrett Wilson versus CeeDee Lamb versus AJ Brown, because if it is like full point PPR, I think Garrett Wilson is the guy for me. If I think about how Rodgers plays and how he's going to fit into an offense, but if it's half point PPR, AJ Brown's got to be the guy, right? And I know it's just half a point, but it's the touchdown upside, the big play upside, the chunk yardage. You know, they're different. They're almost different kinds of players. And so like that's where the conversation differs.
I hit the AJ Brown thing specifically because I was looking at his stats today, and the dude makes his living off of, you know, down the field contested catches and touchdowns. Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to read off 5 receptions, 3 receptions, 4 receptions, 1 reception, 4 receptions, 4 receptions, 6 receptions. This is just from last year. This was the wide receiver 6. I mean, like, this guy is teetering on the edge, and we all consensusly believe that Devonta Smith is on the come up. So what do you think's about to happen there? You know, it's a tricky way to read what you expect from these guys. It's a fun.
We'll continue.
That's actually a great thing to talk about too. Solid wide receiver 2s that have that wide receiver 1 potential. Like I'm talking Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith. T. Higgins has been the darling for that forever, it seems like. And he's never, in my opinion, reached the heights that Waddle or Smith reached last year. He's just never been that great. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a talented guy. I'm saying that fantasy-wise, statistically-wise, he's just never been as good as Smith or Waddle were last year. And you were just talking about AJ Brown. Let me talk to you about another guy who makes his money downfield, Jamar Chase. Like, are you going to say no to Jamar Chase? No, nobody's gonna say fucking no to Jamar Chase. That's how he makes his bread and butter, is going deep downfield. I mean, this guy in 2021, his yards per reception were 18. 2022 is 12. He only has
a lot.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to include those 2022 numbers because it comes down to earth a little bit.
It does come down to earth a little bit, but it's still fucking insane. I mean, sure, maybe they ran him a little bit shorter, but he's still making his bread and butter downfield.
I'm going to pause this right here, folks, to pay some bills, and then we'll come back and finish out with the rest of our wide receiver talk.
Jazz, Sportsbook, Casino, and Racebook, the world's best resource for all-purpose online wagering. For over 20 years, Jazz has provided the best and quickest payouts in sports and entertainment wagers. Live sports betting, covering all the major sports leagues, and even into the new and exciting world of esports. Down the stretch you'll come, with Jazz's online horse wagering. Get paid when you play with Jazz's fun and exciting online casino games. Go online now and use the promo code TSS for our new members deals. Jazz Sportsbook, Casino, and Racebook, the world's best resource for online wagering.
What Justin was going to say, because like he was hitting some good points. The only thing I was going to argue with is it's not even downfield sometimes. AJ Brown and Jamar Chase, they're the type of dudes that will take a slant to the house, like Terrell Owens on there. Yeah. Like all they need is like a little bit of wiggle room. So, and like, we'll talk a little bit later about like the Dynasty Cup. That's kind of why I wanted to change the scoring to still have full point PPR, but these big play guys, you know, like change the scoring for all these passing bonuses and stuff like that, you know, like to offer a little bit of difference in there. Cause like AJ Brown in that format might be like a wide receiver 3 if you really think about it, because like he puts up such huge plays. Jalen Waddle is where it gets shaky for me. He's one I feel amazing as my wide receiver 2. My wide receiver one, I don't feel as great. And then we're getting into like Chris Olave, which is again, like to me, I feel like is like a high-end wide receiver too. Justin, tap in.
Skip.
Come on,
give me something here real quick. If you were to do a serious hero RB and you were to take an RB1, let's say you want to get jiggy with it, you want to get Chris McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley, and then you go out and you get next pick, you get Waddle, and then the next pick you either get Devonta Smith or Chris Olave. Are you okay with the idea of two guys that would be very solid wide receiver twos being your 1 and your 2? And you know that these guys, Jalen Waddle, is got to be the wide receiver 1 in 2 years, and Chris Olave is the wide receiver 1 on his team currently. Are you okay with that, Bill?
When you
getting one of the top 5 guys, but getting locked in running back 5.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, leave your hair down.
When you put it like that, that sounds pretty good. It sounds pretty good when you put it like that. Like especially if I'm in like a one QB league, which I hate. But like if I'm doing like an underdog draft, especially, I don't hate that at all. Like I said, that's a very compelling argument. Very compelling argument when you put it like that. Now let's talk later rounds. Let's talk about guys that I see people settle for. Dynasty, it's a little bit different. Stephon Diggs is someone who's falling. It's because he's old as shit at this point now for Dynasty. And another guy, DK Metcalf. Like, is he a wide receiver 1 or is he like a super high end wide receiver 2? Because it's like one of those things where like, is he technically a wide receiver 1? Like, yeah, but like you don't ever like you want to talk about not feeling good. That's like, going to like your 5th choice college, It's
yeah. I'm a legacy, but it's not the side of the family I'm proud of. Yeah. I know what you mean. Oh, man, that's DK is like the toughest one. He's one of the toughest guys on the board to look at and evaluate. Just because what he brings to the table feels so replaceable, and yet they don't really have that to replace him right now. Combined with the quarterback, there's a certain cap on the offense and the quarterback there in the next 3 to 5 years. It's not like somebody like, Mike Williams got a nice fat contract, right? Well, he's attached to Justin Herbert for God knows how long, however he decides to play out his career. That's beautiful, and you can hold on to that. DK Metcalf, but he still is the alpha there. He's still the one. He's the guy who's not going to be pulled off the field when they split down from 3 wide receiver sets to 2 wide receiver sets. Massive red zone target. Just it's how much the reason I imagine you brought him up is because how much separation is there between him and the 2nd wide receiver and the 3rd wide receiver on the depth chart, which is not a question you can ask about. I don't think any other wide receiver group in the league. This is a really unprecedented situation. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about it, because it has me all twisted.
Every year, Tyler Lockett is like no matter what, even if it's like at end of season, whether you use total points or points per game, Tyler Lockett is like 3 or 4 slots behind DK Metcalf, and you drafted him like 6 rounds later than DK Metcalf. And I know from like the Dynasty trade market, I had one share of DK Metcalf where I was pairing him. Granted, this was like a Devy league, so first they mean a lot, but they don't at the same time. Like they mean like significantly less. I'm trying to pair him with like a first to go get Garrett Wilson, and I get rejected. And I think even in one league it was straight Dynasty, and someone didn't want to do that for Garrett Wilson. Yeah, so I mean, it's just like I think we should consider that DK. I think we should
I'll show you guys something
Metcalf
interesting
is
here.
At least in spirit a wide receiver too. Go ahead.
Can you guys pop this up on screen? So this is a mock I just did with some guys at Fantasy and Frames, and now this is redraft, but it does. The only reason I brought this up is because you look at the 3 squad, right? That's Andrew Cooper. That's one of our boys. He took DK Metcalf in the 3rd round, and he took him over a bunch of other guys that we all absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to put that back up.
He took him over a bunch of guys that you probably would not expect him to go over, and that's not even considering just a running back position. You're looking at that third squad there is what I'm talking about. And he didn't say anything other than, what we're talking about right now. But I think that this is kind of like, what's the term I'm looking for? This is the ultimate, what's the term? God damn it, guys, the drinks are hitting me right now. What's the term for something that splits people both ways? Not a penis.
Polarizing.
Polarizing. Thank you. God, I couldn't think of it. Polarizing. I'm shocked to see there's some very, trustworthy members of the community, guys whose opinions I take very seriously that absolutely love him in the short term, which means you should like him in the long term. I just don't know how I feel.
The glaring one here to me that because I have DK Metcalf very closely ranked. Actually, I have him behind DJ Moore. I'm high on DJ Moore this year, and if I could get DJ Moore 2 rounds later behind Metcalf, now I'm not sure I would want DJ Moore as my number 1. I also probably wouldn't have done the same build. So I mean, there's that argument too. Does Moore feel like a 1?
So this is unusual to me because this is unusual to me, and I'd like to know what you say about after this. I do not see DK Metcalf go before Cooper, Keenan Allen, Hopkins, Ridley, and usually McLaurin. So I don't know how you guys feel about that in particular, but I mean, this was a shocking pick to me.
To be honest, Coop's build is the antithesis of what I try to do. So I just told you guys I like 0 to hero RB. I like robust wide receivers, and I don't like to take chances. This is the opposite of that. It is robust running back, and it is a lot of ifs, ands, and buts. In my opinion, like Christian McCaffrey, we all know what he can do. Tony Pollard, I have questions about the entire Cowboys offense going forward. So they're a whole fade to me. And then DK Metcalf, that's an if. Joe Burrow, you don't have Joe Burrow's upside is the QB 5. Let's be honest, because he doesn't have rushing upside depending on your scoring format. And then you have Drake London. You're counting on Desmond Ridder to be the guy at that point. Rashad White, we're hoping that he's going to take a step forward and then be a bell cow. Then you're going to move down to Christian Kirk. We know what he is. He's a clear wide receiver too. And then Michael Thomas. You're hoping that he is anybody. You're hoping he can even play 5 games, And then again, you got 2 rookie you got 2 rookie tight ends, or not. Well, Chig isn't. It's
ish.
Ish. Yeah, ish. It's just I don't know that he's betting on a lot. He's betting on a lot. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I would swap out 2 picks here that would make me feel, and because you nailed on both of the spots I'm about to call it. The 2 picks I would switch here that would make me feel so much better about this team is if instead of taking Pollard in the second, taking T. Higgins there, and then say you still took DK Metcalf as your number 2 the next round. Fine, I can get behind that. I can still get behind all the way down to, say replace Michael Thomas. Not Michael Thomas, sorry. I just lost it. Shit. Replace the Drake London pick with either Madison or Sanders, and I feel a lot better with that build. So it would be McCaffrey, Higgins, Metcalf, Burrow, and then say Sanders. I like Sanders better than Madison.
Justin, I know you're chomping at the bit there.
I agree with Andrew. I would trade a couple picks here. Go Olave instead of Pollard.
That's fine.
I was just saying, Higgins is one of those guys that you want to be like Devontae Smith, but he's
so the Metcalf was a big part of why I wanted to pull this up. But I was thinking about this earlier, mainly because what do you guys think about my start? And because I think that's a tie-in to what we're talking about, right? As far as the kind of wide receivers you can get and the kind of running backs you may or may not. Now this is redraft, honestly, so it's a little bit of a different animal. But just as far as and you guys don't have to comment on it in depth, but is that an idea?
You spit in my hand before I jerk you off over here.
Yeah, I was about to say I can grab some Jergens out of the bathroom before we start because I was gonna say, man, you know what, I like this. I like this. like you got like 4 guys that are set it and forget it wide receivers, and like like you almost know one of these guys are going to finish top 5 or something. 2 of them are going to finish top 12, and then you faded QB. You waited. You're like, okay, I didn't get Allen, I didn't get Jackson, I didn't get the high end guys. So what did you do at that point? You got Anthony Richardson, because you know that Anthony Richardson doesn't have to be good to be fantasy good. It's just plain and simple. It's artistry, Chuck. It's artistry. I would take this team 10 times out of 10.
Can I just say this right now? Is D-Hop going at 410 right there?
He's still going fairly high.
You're seeing a lot of variability in him and Cook and Kamara. Just depends on the people in the draft. Some people are baking it in already that he's signing with a team that's going to target him. Other people are fading. I've seen him go as late as the 7th round. It's bananas. It's like when Aaron Jones and Devonta Adams, were all over the place, depending on if Rodgers was going to retire. You can't take a whole lot of that. You got to take it with a grain of salt.
So what disgusts me, as I get all that, but what disgusts me is that we're talking about the Patriots and the Titans being his only viable destinations right now, and people still want to give a 4th round pick for this motherfucker.
Dude. You're preaching to the choir. Like I said, it's hard for me. Like I have to like look in the mirror and say redraft like 5 times, like I'm trying to summon fucking Candyman, so I can hit the button on Stephon Diggs because he's too old. He's in like a way better situation, and then people are drafting DeAndre Hopkins with like the 4th round.
You will see DeAndre Hopkins on my team in the 5th round if he goes to the Patriots.
I was talking to Jagger.
What if he goes to the Titans?
Still taking Burks, you motherfucker.
Hey, I was talking to Dragon before the show started. I just did a best ball earlier where I actually took a chance and took D-Hop in best ball, which feels a little bit better taking those. I took him in the 5th round in best ball. But because it's best ball format, that risk feels a lot safer to me.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't have to actually put him in your lineup. If he does well, then he'll get in the lineup. But we'll end it right there, folks. Again, next week we'll talk a little bit more. We had to cut the show sheet a little short. We're going to talk about make or break players, and we can talk more about DJ Moore and Justin Fields, Brandon Ayuk, Mac Jones, Swift, players like that, and what you should do with them. We'll talk a little bit more about the Dynasty Cup, and we'll announce our lineup of our first two drafts and our first 2 divisions. As always, like, subscribe. Make sure if you're on Spotify or Apple, leave a review. It helps us. It helps more people listen to us. It helps us make money. Use our TSS codes, and then follow us on Twitter. You can catch me at Fantasy Blue Chip, Justin Herrera at SimTexMex93, and Andrew Loduke at Real Mr. Mallard, and Chuck Bass FF. We'll see you next week, folks.